All right, excellent. So I am here with the phenomenal Jude Duval, the author of No Molasses in Rum. Fantastic book. And we are just going to go right into it. So, what was the moment that you said, "Oh my God, I have to write this book"?
There was some creativity just boiling inside of me that I wanted to put somewhere in a definitive forum. And
Mhm.
I thought, what better way than a book where you're not limited by imagination, you're not limited by anything, but you can just go on and pour your heart into it, take your time and, edit edit it the way you like. And so, I had that in my head, and initially I wasn't clear on all of the elements, so I
Mm,
didn't know it was going to center around a Haitian American community in Brooklyn.
mm,
And I just decided that would um, make it very different by doing that, and something that's close and dear to me. That's my background. So I felt like, okay, this is something that not only is it sort of different, but I don't think it's ever been addressed in our community
mm,
in a great amount of, it hasn't been out there to that degree where you can say, oh, this is cliche. You can't say that about that.
mm. Wow, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Um, Now, what first sparked this specific story?
So the specific story is a mosaic of different things that I had a circle of friends, and sometimes they were connected, sometimes they were not interconnected, but
Mm,
a couple of things may have happened to them. And then there was a gentleman who was sort of like a mentor to me, so he takes a grand role in this novel.
mhm,
So it's like a mosaic of different things that I kind of put together. And when I started tinkering with it, I realized it was easier to do that than I thought. I thought initially it'd be a little bit of an issue trying to put a couple of different things together, but it just was one story that was just organic, and
mm,
I just kind of ran with it. And I tell people that that's what it was, and they kind of look at me like, no, that they didn't get that feeling that it was something that was just like a soup,
oh,
leftovers that I had for a soup, and I put them together and made a grand soup, you know,
mhm.
for Friday night or whatever.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So why do you feel like this story is important now?
So it's important because uh, when I look at Brooklyn, Brooklyn is everybody's from Brooklyn. You always hear everyone's from Brooklyn, like
Mm,
and when somebody says I'm from Brooklyn, it says it all. If it wasn't for the fact that it was part of New York City, it would be the fourth largest city in America, in North
mm,
America.
mm,
But still, it has a hometown feel,
mhm,
and immigrants all over the world, everybody's passed through Brooklyn, and I felt like I just had to have an ode for the Caribbean community, this in particular, and I'm a mystery buff, so I
mm,
kind of wanted to have that in there. And this is a bit of a film noir ode as well, so I wanted to do something that was not really dominant in our community. I feel
mm.
like there may have been one or two efforts, but I don't feel like it's something that's out there in droves. So I said, let me niche myself in this and see where it goes.
Excellent. So, what question were you really obsessed with while you were writing this?
Will I do the genre justice? I wanted to make sure that um, it's a period piece, so I wanted to make sure that I did my research, I did my due diligence, and everything was on point.
Mhm,
Luckily, no one has said, "Hey, you kind of goofed on that." I'm a big IMDb buff too, so one of the favorite pages on IMDb is like when a movie has a goof. I like to see, okay, continuity was messed up here, whatever. Luckily, no
mm,
one has
mm.
told me that, so I think I did my work, I did my research, and that was a big thing with me. I just wasn't sure exactly if I could do it justice, being that it's a period piece.
Mm, mm. Actually, that's a great point.
Yeah.
So, uh, who is this story really about?
So the main character, Tizud, he immigrated from Port-au-Prince in the sometime in the 1980s, and he basically went from Miami, but he finally ultimately ended up in Brooklyn.
Mhm.
And he is a guy who, when he got to Brooklyn, he realized this is not a world. It's not very different from the streets, the rough streets of Port-au-Prince that he grew up in, and he kind of blended in a little too well,
Mm,
getting involved in the street politics and science, aka
mm,
violence.
mm,
So he finds himself adapting, but also adopting a family that he grew close to, and
mm.
inadvertently got them in the crosshairs of fire.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Uh, so what is at stake if things go wrong? You mentioned, crosshairs of fire. I mean, and basically street violence. So
Yeah.
what's at stake?
So his adopted family is directly compromised because of his allegiance to the streets,
Mm,
and he fears their own safety, and also in the background, subconsciously, probably in the back of his head, he wants to get out. He's
mm,
he's approaching that age where he wants to get out. He's getting older, so he
mhm,
wants to get out, and he wants to be out there and see something else that was promised in the back of his mind.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. Now, what kind of emotional ride do you feel as though the reader should expect?
So there's an ever-present danger in the background. There's a little bit of nostalgia. There's hope. There's always hope in the forefront.
Mhm,
But those moments are easily disrupted by desperation and some street thing that happens. So they the positivity is always in flux because it can go left or right at any moment. It's the
mm,
streets, it's late 80s, 90s, 1990s Brooklyn. So
mhm,
it can go left very fast.
mm, mm.
It's
Uh,
education
sorry.
I have to add.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what part of this book did you feel was the absolute hardest to write?
The antagonists, because they go through a transition, but
Mm,
I felt it had to be very credible, but subtle too. It couldn't be heavy-handed.
mm,
So I tried to plant seeds very carefully to a point where my editor was like, that's a little too subtle. So we might want to do this or that different. And I had to, revise certain things. But
mm,
for me personally, I don't know. Maybe I'm not that skilled of a writer as, somebody like Stephen King, but I felt like a protagonist can go through a major change and it can be 180 degrees. To me,
mhm,
that's easier to convey than an antagonist.
mm,
'Cause it's almost like an antagonist, you have to walk a balance between that person being cliche and not. You don't
mm,
want it to be cliche, but in a lot of ways, that person tends to be,
mm,
just to
mhm,
get certain things across based on how much time you have allotted to as well. So
mm,
so you might expect a protagonist to fit the mold eventually to something that you can relate to, but for some of us, an antagonist is hard to relate to.
mm,
Even though technically I like to see the bad guy get away in the back of my mind in some stories. I just like, what if X, Y, and Z got away with this? But
mhm.
I can't fit in that mold. I'm not a serial killer. I'm not a murderer, so I can't really fit in that mold. I don't want to
Mm.
see serial killers and murderers get away with it. I want to make that point clear.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, the most effective antagonists are those that we get to understand why they do what they do, right?
Yes.
By like making it real, so then it's like then you can associate with them more,
Yes.
and through that you then it makes the traumas even that more uh real.
Real. Absolutely.
Mhm,
The best antagonist thinks he's right. He or she
mhm,
is right. When you think you're right and you're not just doing something helter skelter just because whatever, but you feel like you're right, it just
mhm,
happens to be bad when society looks at it, those are the best antagonists.
Oh
Actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what part? Well, I asked you that. So where were you in your life when you were writing this book, and how do you feel like it changed you,
So
if it did?
I have to tell you, it was like a decade. So from the time the idea started fermenting in my head
Mm-hmm.
to the point where I finalized it. So we're talking, so I kind of finished this during COVID, during
Mm-hmm.
lockdown. So it's kind of like when I look at it, I'm like, this is like the 1970s. When you
Mm-hmm.
look at 1970s music, the decade begins one way, it ends another way. Like we have
Mm-hmm.
like this foundation of rock that it starts with in the early part of the decade. Then 1975 his disco just takes 1970s in a different direction. That's exactly how it happened with me with this book, because um, from where I started, I definitely had a yearning to have a creative effort. Again, I wanted to get something on paper because, again, I could let my imagination run.
Mm-hmm.
But, I was also at the point where like some of the memories that I had started to fade in my head. And I wanted to get those things down on paper just
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that I would always have them somewhere
Mm-hmm.
and share them, because there was a lot of times I'd be at social events, parties, or whatever, and I'm relaying some of these stories, and people would enjoy what I was telling them. I'm like, yeah, some of these are true, and I feel like I needed a place to put these, and
Mm-hmm.
what better place? I just had to get this out of my pores and share my creativity.
Brilliant.
Yep.
So do you feel like this actually changed you at all? I mean, over a decade, yes, understood. But like more specifically, the writing of it and actually having an opportunity to get these ideas, these thoughts down.
Excellent question, because back to the 70s reference, because in the beginning I was doing it mostly to get creativity out. But then as COVID came and lockdown was happening, I'm like, man, this is good therapy. Like, I'm not seeing a therapist at the moment. I'm barely stepping outside. I'm not getting sun. My doctor's telling me I need vitamin C, but I mean vitamin D. But
Mm-hmm.
it was good therapy every night. I would write late. So every night, I start about 10 p.m. and it'd be like, there were nights I would go through, it'd be like 1:30 in the morning. And I'm like, man, this really feels good. I
Mm-hmm.
slept good that night. It was like good therapy. Something about it. Just I was productive in a time when maybe the day before I was very unproductive. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like once I started writing, it changed it for me. So it was like two different periods in my life that collectively I was able to put something together that I birthed. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
um Now, what surprised you most while you were writing?
My love of historical fiction. I,
Mm,
I didn't, I knew I liked it, but I didn't know I'd want to write it. And I wanted
mm,
to get into that genre, because what I really like about it is the actual research. I just had a lot of fun doing research, going back, and I would go back, decades prior to where the story took place,
mm,
just to get a sense of, okay, these are the things that influence this character and that character.
mhm,
The person that grew up in Port-au-Prince was influenced by the politics of the time, and the person that grew up in 1970s Brooklyn, 1980s Brooklyn was quite different.
mm,
So based on that, the way they spoke was different. The way they answered questions was different. So the research, I really got into it, and it was really fun just being able to do it and not having to go to a library and go through a microfiche. My library was right there on my phone and my laptop, and I could
mm,
do amazing research. Um, Sometimes you have to be careful, because sometimes that's not true and it's not correct, because someone can go on a forum and place something. So you have to be very diligent about it. But that was the fun for me. Like I
mm.
realized I enjoyed that part of it a lot. Yeah.
And what characters did you find the most challenging to write?
So The protagonist was a little challenging because he didn't give a lot. His
Mm,
character was very stoic, and that was done on purpose. That was the character in real life, to be honest. So very stoic, didn't give a lot. Emotion, you didn't get a lot from that person emotionally. But
mm,
the crux of the story, the um, the character, the antagonist's friend, he's in there for very limited amount of time, but I had to make the audience care for him too. But
mm,
it was like that was challenging because there's just limited time to do that. I wanted to keep the story and the pace moving,
mm,
but I wasn't willing to like give him too much as well. Like I just wanted to move past that and have the story move because I felt like that wasn't going to move the pace of the story. So I just said, let me figure out a way to not have him be too involved, but have the audience care. So that was a little tricky.
mm, mm. Actually, I love that. That's a great explanation of the complexity associated with that character. Absolutely. So, what of the writing almost didn't actually make it into the book, and why did you keep it?
It's funny you asked that because so again, the nuance of building that character, that tertiary character, but he's a crucial part of the story. Um, I added a flashback
Mm,
at the very end, and no, that's not true. I added the flashback, but it wasn't a flashback. It was at the very beginning, and
mm,
then I thought about it. I said, let me rearrange that because um, it feels like okay, not knowing a lot about this character, too much about this character, keeping him a little bit mysterious is okay.
mm,
But when we get to the end, we get this flashback that builds you on an emotional level and endears this character to you.
mm,
So I kind of reversed that, and so that was something that it might not have made the book, but then I added it, and then I think it changed things. And a lot of people said, it was actually touching and this and that. And I was like, oh, I think one person even told me that was her favorite scene, and I was like, oh, I didn't expect that, but I'm glad
mm.
I put that in there. Sometimes you don't know what you're doing. It just yeah.
Now, is there anything that you wish you did actually add or include in the novel?
There was something that it escaped me right now, but there was
Mm,
definitely something that I said. I remember reading it back to myself, but at this point it was too late. And I said I should have added, it wasn't much, it was like a line. And I said I should
mm.
have added that, but I don't recall what it was. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no. I was
Yeah.
just curious.
Yeah. It was just a
Uh,
slight line.
mhm.
Yeah.
Who do you feel like would fall hardest for this book?
If you love mystery, a little action, the macabre, if you love something that has that kind of vibe, people who like film noir, who like that back in the day.
Mhm,
But in particular, this is a marriage of different genres. So you have a little macabre, film noir, but it's a Caribbean culture thing. So
mhm,
again, I don't feel like those things were ever addressed for us. So I feel like you're getting something that's a little different. It's very
mhm,
niche, but everybody can relate. Everybody can relate to certain things. We're all people at the end of the day. So everybody can relate to certain things. We love, we cry, we hope. So
mhm,
the things that are all present in the book. And, so I feel like if you like those things, it'll work. And one of the biggest surprises I had, um, women enjoyed it more than I feel like. I feel like I got more feedback from women, but that could be because women, I think, are more voracious readers than men. Men these days, men seem to have the attention of a flea. So, so I feel like TikTok is made for men, and then like you see a woman, she'll sit down and read a 300-page book in like 4 days. And you're like, wow. Like so, I felt like women really uh, gave me a lot of positive feedback. Certain things they liked, the portrayal of some of the female characters in the
Mhm,
book, and so I feel like those are who I feel like would fall for the book. a combination of things. That's the Venn diagram somewhere. Somewhere in there.
I
Yeah.
love it. I absolutely love. And honestly, I think women are generally speaking the more voracious readers of mysteries in general.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh, mysteries too.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't even think of that. Yeah, because that's true. Because every so I have a couple of friends that are big into Stephen King and stuff like
Mm,
that.
mm,
I hardly hear men ever say that. You know? Yeah,
mm.
yeah.
Oh,
Men,
yeah.
men I find maybe they might like biographies a little more. Not more than women, but that's what predominantly they'll mention. Yeah,
Understood.
yeah,
Understood. Oh, that's interesting. That I didn't know. I could see that. I could
yeah.
totally see that.
You know?
Um, so what do readers say they weren't expecting?
Definitely the ending, the twist in the ending. Definitely. I think one person told me they thought they had it figured out, and
Mm,
as soon as they turned the next page, they were like, "Oh my god!" It just like I had no clue, and so definitely the plot twist. I think which can backfire sometimes because sometimes you read something and it feels forced
mhm,
and it doesn't feel like that's where the story was really going. But
mhm,
I planted certain seeds and I made sure that they were there. And if you feel like you were cheated and maybe the plot twist was not organic, if you go back and read it, I feel like you will agree that yeah, the seeds were there. Maybe
mm,
maybe if you paid attention a little closer, maybe
mm.
you'd realize and recognize that it was actually there all along.
Well, sometimes, uh, I mean, I know lots of readers who will do exactly that, right? They'll hit the plot twist and say, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy," and then they'll go back and reread it. And to your
Mhm.
point, it's like the hints will scream at them, like
Yeah,
scream off the page.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a little. I used to play this little game with myself. I used to read books, but I would start by reading the last sentence in the book or the last paragraph in the book,
Oh,
and then I would go
interesting.
back and read the actual book, and just to see, kind of cheat and see if I could figure out what was going on.
Hmm,
Actually,
hmm,
it didn't work most times, but I think I was reading something Judy Bloom wrote years ago, and then I kind of figured it out.
hmm.
But even then, it was a little different than what I imagined throughout the book. Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Uh, yep, absolutely. Um, Now, if someone reads the first, say, 20 pages or so, what keeps them going?
So before even the first 20 pages, the seemingly the main character's off and no longer there. And so I kind of want you to reverse engineer it in your mind
Mm,
to, from the get-go, the what, who, where, and how you want to know these things. So it drives you to read further and
mhm,
reverse engineer everything so you could figure out, okay, how did we get to this point? And how did this happen? To this.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
That now, what mood do you think a reader should be in when they start reading this book?
So again, like I said, being a film noir buff, get
Mhm,
a get a pistachio latte, get a cup of coffee, some herbal tea, and be prepared to read what I think is a cool mystery. It's not too dark, but
mm,
it portrays the city in a in a genuine sense. Pre-gentrification Brooklyn.
mm,
So it's get your sleuthing glasses on, and maybe discover a world you didn't know, a time that you heard of, but maybe your parents and grandparents grew up in.
mhm,
But you get to live. We didn't have cell phones back then. We didn't have internet. We didn't have cell phones. We had beepers, maybe.
mhm.
We had a house phone where you dialed the button if you had the rotary phone and your friend's number started with 996, the dial had to turn back all the way back. So it was a different time. These little things in the book. It's a
Mm.
different time. And I have 4 kids, and I think 3 of them always tell me your time was boring. So I want to show that it wasn't boring. It was just different.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't
Uh,
digital, but it wasn't boring. Yeah.
uh, Now, in one sentence, why should someone pick up this book?
It's the diversity, realism in the age of alternative facts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
And is there anything that you want to leave our readers, or our viewers rather, with?
Besides, check out my book. Check out Running Wild Press. The book is now is an ebook now, so you can grab that, and it's available at Barnes and Nobles, a few more outlets. The book itself is available on Amazon, many different outlets, Strand Books. So there's many places to get it. You can check out my book, and please leave a comment. Like it or don't like it, I want you to put that on as your review, and just keep this going. And thank you, Lisa, and Running Wild Press.
Oh, thank you, Jude. I mean,
Yes.
we love you, love the book. And for anybody watching, for the month of February, No Molasses and Rum is on sale, the ebook, for 99 cents. As Jude had quite effectively stated, on Barnes and Noble, Amazon. Please check it out. Please leave comments. We love comments. We love reviews. And with that, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you. Appreciate everything. Take care.